Ave strategos, I'm Pericles and welcome back to my channel. So today's Friday, and as you already know, Friday is our temple guide days. And this week's topic is Seleucid faction temples. If you've watched our previous episodes in this series, we've already made the guides about Roman temples, which is Julii, Brutii, and Scipii. We made one video about Carthaginian and Numidian temples. They were exactly the same. And we made a video about Greek cities, Macedons. Last week we made a video about the Thracians, and this week I've mentioned that we're gonna be going with Seleucids because Seleucids is the last Greek cultured faction on our list. And right after the Seleucids, probably next week, I will either start working on Eastern cultured factions, which is might be a Pontus, Parthians, Armenians, and stuff, or maybe I'll do a video about the Egyptian temples and then jump to the Easterns. We'll see. I'm not so sure. I haven't made up my mind on that yet, but we will be talking about Seleucid temples today for sure. For the people who never watched any of these series before, who are new, I'll just a quick brief information. In these episodes, I'm trying to give you guys a detailed guide. I'm talking about all different kind of temple options the faction offers to us. Each of their benefits, like ups and downs, in which situations, which one might be useful. Also, which kind of followers, which kind of traits that we can get with building those temples. Pretty much everything that I feel like this might be useful for you. I really enjoy to make this series because every time I prepare for these videos that requires some kind of preparation, I'm going and reading the game files and traits, buildings itself and stuff, and me myself learning a pretty decent amount of information. And there's some stuff that I started to apply to my own gameplay, which I hope in some extent that might help you to do that too. So that's pretty much it. And how we do here, as you already see, the Seleucids has three different basically temple options, which is first one is Hephaestus. I'm building each temple in different cities. So we have Sardis with Hephaestus temple build, and we have Seleucia with Dionysus temple build. We'll talk about everything in detail in a minute, but with this Dionysus temple, we've already talked about it last week with Thracians as well, if you remember. I believe a lot of followers, traits, and information you're gonna find very similar since they are the same temple basically, but there might be maybe small differences. So, and last, we have a Damascus with the Asclepios temple. And in this series, I'm using a console commands. I'm basically building the necessary buildings using the console commands. Don't want to deal with waiting turns and stuff. Also, I do use console commands for cleaning all the traits and followers, that which is not necessary, which is not related to those temples at all. So everything you're gonna be seeing here, I will be showing you here, is related to that temples, and that's how and I will talk how you can get them all. So let's start with here with our first temple. Our first temple option is a Hephaestus temple. So who is this Hephaestus? In the game files, it's considered as Temple of Forge, and if you watched my previous videos, you might recall that we talked about the Temple of Forge with Scipii Romans. They have a temple called Vulcan, and Vulcan is the Temple of Forge for Romans. Hephaestus is a Temple of Forge for Seleucids. So what does this shrine grants to us in the first tier? So in the shrine level, this basically religious branch grants to us 5% public order bonus due to happiness and +1 light weapon upgrade. So we're building the shrines for their public order bonuses, so definitely 5% is what we're looking for. +1 light weapon is not bad. So what it does, let's take a look to Seleucid army. So as you see, the spearmen, very early unit like militia hoplites, they're called as a spearmen in the game, but they are the very early units in the game that probably unfortunately with Seleucids, you're having pretty much not too many options, but recruiting those guys. It has been a minute until you starting to get the phalanx pikemen. So you're mostly dealing with either levy pikemen or militia hoplites. And if I'm not mistaken, if the information on my hand is correct, uh, both of these guys will get benefited from +1 light weapon upgrade, and it is basically increases the fight ability of your units, and it means just extra basically military bonus. So not bad in the first tier. We have 5% bonus on the public order and +1 light weapon. It didn't start bad. I can't say it's like it's wow good, but it is still alright. And let's talk about what kind of traits or followers we might unlock after building this building. There's only one trait we will be talking about, which is merchant trait. So I know I've told that all the traits and stuff you will be seeing here is related to the religious buildings, but not this guy, since it is, at least for me, it's difficult to work with merchants with the console commands. I can't remove these traits, so I don't know how I can get their name correct and stuff, but we'll just ignore this. Don't look at that. We'll be talking about this devotion over here. So you're gonna see that we have devotion to each kind of temple, and we've already talked about in previous episodes, previous factions as well. Every faction, every kind of temple, they have some kind of devotion. So what is these devotions are? They are, so since we say the Hephaestus is a temple of forge, we have a devotion to metalwork. It gives to our merchant +1 finance ability when trading base minerals, -1 when trading timber. I'm not gonna go into the details of what kind of use you can get from it. This is completely different guide. Maybe I will do in the future, maybe trade guide or merchant guide and stuff. But if you like to use merchants all around, you might consider this trade as well. And how the devotion work is, so let's say Sardis, right? We have already built the shrine to Hephaestus. We in the second tier, we're in the temple level, but we've already built it. So you have to have at least the first tier Hephaestus building in your settlement, or above. You can have like temple or large temple, awesome temple, even pantheon. So you have to have at least first tier, and you have to have a merchant sitting on your settlement. And then if you will end the turn, next turn this guy will get this devotion with 100% of chance if he has no other devotions. So one merchant can has only one kind of devotion. He can have devotion to just only one ideology. We'll talk about another devotions for another temples as well, but the Hephaestus gets the devotion to metalwork. And also I said you have to have this building already built in your settlement. You should have a merchant sitting in your settlement, and then they end the turn. Or if you don't have any merchant around, or if you don't have a merchant sitting, build a building and then just go ahead and recruit a new merchant. In the next turn, when he will get recruited, he will start with this trait. So that works in both ways, but there's no other way that he doesn't get it. So with 100% of chance, he will get it. So let's jump to the second tier now. That's pretty much it about the first tier. Only trait is related to the merchant. And now let's take a look to the second tier. Temple of Hephaestus is a second tier building in this branch. 10% public order bonus. We have pretty much like twice increase on the public order. We're still keeping the light weapon upgrade. We have the heavy weapon upgrade as well, which means I'm not gonna say heavy weapon is super useful in this tier because you're not having a lot of access for heavy weapons in this tier. but at least for later on is good. So for second tier, it might be a little early for this. There is some factions that you can get benefited from the heavy weapons as early. I don't think Seleucids is one of them, but overall is not bad. It's like more um, more like, I would say, aggressive style of playing kind of temple. But yeah, it is decent traits here. Now let's talk about the traits and followers, which requires the second tier of Hephaestus building at least. And everything we will be talking about in this point is related to our general, family member, commander, whoever you want to call, faction here, faction leader. So let's start with traits first. We have an engineer trait, which is in the game files, goes under good engineer 1 and gives us plus 20 build points. And don't confuse yourselves, this build point can't be used for building a construction in your settlement, as it mentions here, required for the construction of siege equipment. So basically, let's say you lay the siege on one settlement, it grants basically extra build points. So sometimes, let's say you have only this guy and one maybe militia hoplite, and you sieging Ankira, it says, okay, just for building a battering ram you have to wait for 2 turns, but you have a better chance, like you have more building points. It means maybe you can build a battering ram only 1 turn. So it is useful in some extent, since, as you already know, the followers has a cap of limit of 8. You can't have more than 8 followers, but traits you can have as much as you want. So it is always good to have this trait, uh, but it's not good for a governor. You have to it is useful on the general, which goes and sieges the settlements. So and how you can get it, as I already mentioned, you have to have Temple of Hephaestus, at least the second tier of this building, or you can have above, and you have to have a family member or commander or general ending the turn in the settlement which you build this building. And with we say the devotions had 100% chance, but this guy has only 10% of chance. Each time you end the turn, you might get it with 10% of chance. So same thing applies to the minor trait. Again, 10% of chance, exact same conditions. Minor gives us 10% bonus on mining income, and this is more like a governor, basically trait. You won't be profitable from it if this trait is in your basically the campaign generals, which whoever go to the fights, sieges and stuff. This is good for your governors, and in the game files it goes under the good minor 1. Overall, both of them, it is very I can say specific use. You can't they're not the kind of traits that you can have in everyone. Also not very super huge bonuses, but it's still something. And we'll jump to followers in here. The first follower we'll talking about is a inventor, and it's a brilliant inventor trait. So it has exact same conditions, but unfortunately little less chance. This one has 8% of chance each time you end the turn, for you being able to get it. And let's see what it gives. Plus 30 build points, again for the siege construction only. Plus 1 farming output and 20% bonus on mining income. So the things gets little, let's say, colorful here. We have both offensive and the governor traits. So it really depends. If you have this, you can use that person for going and sieging the settlements, or you can have it as a basically governor. I believe, yeah, we do have, for example, mines at the Sardis. So if you will build the mines, and every settlement has already access for farms anyways, you will be getting benefited from it. I would say I would use this follower more for governor side rather than the offensive, but it is really it all depends on you. I feel like you can use better followers for offensive general, but still 30 build points is not bad. If you very early in the campaign, you might use maybe 1 or 2 units with your general, and this might be a good use. So, and also the another benefit of the followers, you can move the followers with clicking this button here. You can't move the traits unfortunately, but followers can be moved. So if you get the follower to the general who is sitting in here, but you don't want him have it, you want someone else have it, and then you can just simply move it to your other family member or general. Second follower is a geometer, and gives us +1 command when defending walls, 10% discount on construction costs. I would say this is, for me, is less exciting than that. Why? Plus command. So let's talk about command trait. Command is something that doesn't excite me when I have too much, because I usually play my battles manually, and when you go to the battlefield, if you don't auto resolve, if you fight the battles on your own, then command trait doesn't give you anything like advantages. It is only useful if you have if you let AI handle your battles. Let's say if I do and fight the battles on my own manually, I don't care if my command is 0 or 10. That doesn't affect to my units at all. But if I auto resolve the battle, my army will suffer a lot more if my command point is lower. So the higher your command point, the better AI battle resolving results you're gonna get. So that's why like command doesn't excite me a lot, and especially it's not like just one +1 command. It says +1 when defending the walls. So it's only the defending, basically defensive, like settlement defense command. So very niche use of it, and I mean, you just have to fight the siege defense, and you have to auto resolve it for getting benefited from this first part. And 10% discount on construction costs. I mean, Seleucids, if you've played the campaign with them, they are actually suffering decently at the beginning of the campaign, financially and military wise. So 10% discount on construction costs at the early, that might help you in some point, but I would say after 20 turns, 25 turns, when you start basically expanding your empire and your economy starts growing up a little bit, your settlements starting picking up a little bit, when you start building ports, roads, trade centers in your settlements, you starting to not have any money issues at all. And then 10% discount is just kind of overkill. You don't care about if your basically stables cost you like 1200 dinaries or 1080. So just 100 or 200 dinar difference doesn't make a lot for you, but in the early, like I would say 5, 10, 15, 20 turns, it might mean something. And the last one is a priest. We've talked a lot of priest and priestess before. Each religious building has its own priest or a priestess, and they all require the second tier of the religious building, and they all have 15% of chance with the same conditions we've talked about. And let's see what does the Hephaestus priest grants to our family member, to its holder. +1 management, 10% discount on unit training costs, +20 bonus on mining income. I mean, I would say it's a decent priest. Management point, it is something that I always love to see, because it is difficult to keep the management up. You're not getting a lot of plus management skills, traits, followers, and also it is easy to lose. So management is good. How good it is, management determines how many extra basically income your settlement gets. It is not useful for your general who sieges the settlements, who fights the battles. It is very useful for the governors. So you would like to have your governors have a high management points, and 10% discount on unit training costs. Again, 10% discount on the long run won't be a lot for you. It's gonna be just pennies and nickels, but still in the early in the game it might be useful. I would say maybe discount on construction costs early might be a better for you, but unit training cost is better than not having as well. 20% bonus on mining income, again another financial buff for us over here. Faction like a Seleucids who suffers from the financial side a bit, especially in the early couple turns, that might be useful. But remind that, for example, just building this building itself is 1800. Actually, it is 2000, but we have, since we have the 10% discount, it is 1800. So building mines or upgrading to the second tier mine building might be expensive in the early, and the bonus you can get, it is gonna cover itself in some point, but it all depends like on how many turns and how you're gonna be financially in that point. So overall it's not bad. So that's all about the traits and followers, and let's jump to the third tier, large temple of Hephaestus. Our public order bonus goes up to 15% from 10. We're keeping light and heavy weapon upgrade, plus we're getting +1 armor on all units. Now that's different story. Armor you're getting pretty much in every unit. It doesn't specify light armor, heavy armor. Light weapon, heavy weapon. It just says armor, which applies to every units, all the units, your missile units, your light weapon units, heavy weapon units, like foot troops, cavalries and stuff. So it is great. And in the third tier, actually, these three bonuses all together mean something, and they are actually pretty decent altogether, and it means you're having decent buff on your both offensive and defensive for all of your units, so it is good overall. And the fourth tier, we have 20% public order bonus. We're keeping the same bonuses as we talked before, plus we're getting +1 experience. I mean, that is also very good. I mean, experience bonus to troops is great thing to have. It is basically, let's say, here we go, here we go. For example, if this guy had +1 experience, which is basically upgrades all of his stats by 1 point, so it means much better, much stronger units compared before, even like right after they recruited, before even seeing any kind of battle, they already start with extra experience point. And let's take a look to Pantheon. 25% public order bonus. All the upgrade stays the same. Our experience point goes up to +2 from +1, so we're getting extra 1 experience here too, and we're getting another public order bonus due to low, 10%. I would say overall the whole branch is not bad. I would say it is all above the average, and actually this public order bonus at this tier, at the Pantheon tier, is useful, because for building the Pantheon, I'm always mentioning this, you have to be a huge city, you have to have at least 24,000 population, and you definitely start to have issues with your public order once you reach that cap. And especially if you're a player like me that doesn't hold too much garrison in its settlement. For example, I don't build a lot of units for protecting my settlement. I usually buy 1 or 2 peasant units and just go and start to continue expand aggressively. I don't wait for someone to come and siege on my settlement. I just play offensive, and then 1 or 2 units peasants is not being enough in a lot of cases. So public order is an important thing to have, very good bonus to have, and in the last tier that we get this 10% is perfect to have. So overall it is more like offensive branch of religious building, and at the end of the video, before wrapping it up, I'll just say like which kind of use you can have. Now let's jump to the shrine to Dionysus, which we've built in Seleucia here. And this guy starts with 10% public order bonus due to happiness right away at the first tier, which is, I am saying again, it is why you building the temples for. Extra public order bonus is great, especially 10% in the first tier is very nice to have. And now let's talk about the devotion for this specific temple for the Dionysus. So uh, Dionysus is a temple of fun, and we've talked about Dionysus with Thracians. It had exactly the same name. The Thracians had Dionysus as well as a temple of fun, but also we had Julia Romans in. It is the very first video in our temple guide. We started our series with Julia Romans. So Julia Romans has also temple of fun, but their god was a Bacchus, and devotion to fun is. Here we go. That's what you're getting for your from this temple. +1 finance when trading wine, +1 when trading fabrics and dyes, -1 when trading grain. So again, I'm not gonna talking about which kind of use you can use. You can have it as a merchant, but that's the trade you're getting. Again, same conditions. You have to have a shrine to Hephaestus built in your settlement, and I'm sorry, shrine to Dionysus built in your settlement. You have to have a merchant ending the settlement, ending the turn in the settlement, or you have to be recruiting a new merchant. Once you click the end turn, you will get that trade with 100% of chance. And we have only one follower that as early as the first tier of Dionysus temple we will be talking about, which is Cook. So the Cook follower grants us +1 personal security. What is personal security? It is a security for this guy personally. So it means this guy has more, I would say, security against the enemy assassins. So enemy assassination attempts will more likely to fail. So me personally, I don't consider personal security very important thing in Rome Total War. I mean, because I'm saying that because no, I didn't suffer from assassinations at all, not at all, like a lot, I would say. I did couple times, but not a lot, and I'm always mentioning that I feel like medieval Total War, if you guys played it before, this is more important in medieval Total War. I usually suffer from assassinations in medieval Total War a lot more than compared with Rome Total War, so it doesn't hurt to have, but I think it's not something very, how can I say, exciting to see, especially if it's a trade. I don't care, but as a follower, I don't want to waste one of my slots as a follower with this guy. Like I have limit of 8, and I mean, if I'm not super worried about my family members' existence, then it is not very useful follower to have. And exact same conditions as we've talked for all the followers and traits before, and the chances at the each end of the turn for getting this guy is 10%. And now let's jump to the second tier of Dionysus building, which is Temple of Dionysus. We have 20% public order bonus due to happiness. In second tier, I mean, it is very solid temple. 20% public order as early as the second tier is huge actually. If you ask why, you're gonna see that like we had the 20% public order bonus with the Hephaestus temple at the fourth tier, which is, it takes quite some time, maybe like 30-40 turns to get here, because reaching the 12,000 cap and then building a councilor chambers takes 4 turns, and then building this building itself takes 5 turns. So it is a quite bit of time, but pretty much all the settlements is already a large town, or there's a lot of large towns in the beginning of the game, and it just takes 2 turns and 800 denarii, which is easily accessible. I would say very easily accessible, and 20% public order bonus is a huge. So a very good second tier temple, I would say. Now let's talk about the trades, followers, and stuff. So faction here, we won't be talking about it. that's definitely something you would understand that I can take it off. And our traits will start from here. The first trait I will be talking about is social drinker. It goes under the drink one in the game files, and you have the 10% of chance at the end of each turn to be able to get this trait. And let's say what it gives to us: +1 command. Again, command is not something that I really looking for as a trait. If I have it, I don't mind to have it. Maybe sometimes it's useful if I am basically bored, if I am lazy to get in the battlefield. I'll auto resolve. It gives me uh, more chances of the winning the battle if it's already winnable, less casualties and stuff. So very, I would say, very, for me, very niche use of it. So it doesn't blow me away, but it is, and it is good to have. It doesn't take anything away from me. Unlike this trait over here, like the flutter, which is in the game files, is called the gambling one, gives me 5% penalty on all trade income and 10% decrease to cost to bribe. So don't let this on all trade income confuse you. It doesn't mean the faction wise. It means if the guy has this trade, and if, let's say he's sitting in Seleucia, he's decreasing the Seleucia's trade income 5%. It doesn't affect to other settlements at all. And 10% decrease cost to bribe is, I would say, like, if you already know, once your settlement or your general family member is getting bribed, the money AI pays for the bribing doesn't come to your treasury. So I don't care actually how is it 1,000 gold for bribe him or 9,000 gold. I mean, it is a 10,000 or 9,000. That doesn't matter for me too much. Anyways, I feel like AI printing money. I don't think so. They are budgeting their money as the regular people do, like a regular ordinary player do. So this is sounds like a negative trade. Yes, you can say it's a negative because you're getting 5% on all trade income bonus. But let's take a look how much trade we have. We have 74 trade over here. Yeah, it is very early in the campaign. I understand we don't have a lot of buildings. We don't have a lot of trade agreements, trade pacts with another factions, or we don't have a lot of regions to trade with. Let's say your trade is like how much, like 300, 500, let's say. If your trade is 500, if you have 500 denarii income from your trade, it will only take 25 denarii each turn. Is it how big is it for you? For me, it's not a big, so I don't care about having it. Yes, it is better not to have it, but it's not something like I would feel upset about it. And you have 10% of chance at the end of each turn to get this trait once you build the Temple of Dionysus. Whimsical nature. So now that's the things gets different. -1 influence. That's the something that I don't like to see at all. That something can get me disappointed. Why, if you ask? Influence for me, I would say one of the best bonuses. Also, if it's negative, negative bonuses you can get in the game. If I will talk about all the bonuses, benefits in the game, influence is gonna be definitely the S tier bonus to have. Why? Because it affects a lot of important stuff. First of all, if your family member has a high influence and if he's a governor, he's getting more public order on the settlement. So governor influence directly and basically directly affects to the settlement's public order. Another, let's say, okay, he has a lot of influence points, but he's not the governor. He is the guy with high command, and he is basically leading my armies to the fights, siege and stuff. Again, that's very useful as well because influence also lets you have a lot of general cavalry. Let's say I have one influence point, which is with one influence point, let's say you have 110 or whichever, should be 95 I believe. So let's say you have 1 influence point and you have 95 cavalry, but if you have 9 influence points, you're gonna have like 120, 125 or whatever. So the higher your influence point is, the more general bodyguard protects your general. And general bodyguards, I would say, probably my favorite unit in the game. Why? Because you don't have to retrain them, they replenish themselves. They are very strong early, mid, late in the game, in every phase in the game, especially in the early game. They're very strong units to have. They don't break easily. Morale. I mean, they're only breaking once they have like 5 or 10 men left, and they're very basically solid units. And a lot of battles I am winning just because of having the general cavalry. And once if I have higher numbers, that is even better for me. And the influence benefit doesn't stop there. Let's say enemy diplomat or another faction diplomat trying to negotiate with your family member with a high influence point. So if you have a higher influence point on that family member, you're gonna have um, you will be more likely make the opponent diplomat accept your deal. So the higher your point is, the better convincing rate um, for the negotiation. Let's put it in that way. So -1 influence is kind of hurts me, and but fortunately. This trait is called a Joker 1, by the way. So this Joker 1 trait, fortunately, has only 2% of chance at the end of each turn. So it means it is difficult to get it. And also kind of good news for us. You won't be seeing that very easily, but if you see this kind of sad situation. So let's see about over here. I think that shouldn't be blatant adulterer. I think there's something wrong. I'll just use the console command real quick for fixing that. So the next state we were talking about is the girls one. And the girls one trait, let's refresh the page. Here we go. So the one that we saw was the second tier because I already added the girls one and ended the turn. Why I ended the turn? Because I recruited these merchant guys and they needed a turn for getting these devotions. I did that before the recording, and you still have a little bit of chance that every trait that we're talking about, like drink one, gambling one, joker one, girls one, they can continue to their higher level. So the girls one went up to the girls 2, and now just I used the console command and brought it back to the girls 1. So casual adulterer, one of my favorite traits I would say to see in the game. Why? Because as I said, I am fighting the battles manually, and I never play with the arcade mode on, which disables the fatigue and morale from the battles. I do play with them, and +2 morale for all troops on the battlefield, very very important thing. Again, another S tier I would say trait, another S tier bonus. Buff, let's put it in that way, buff, another S tier buff. And if it's negative, S tier debuff, you know. If you see plus morale, you have to be very happy. If you see minus morale, you have to be going crying in somewhere. Why? Because especially like if I will be playing with the Romans, still morale is very important, but Romans has like their studies and all the units, they have a decent morale already. But let's take a look to our core of our army, which we will be playing with these two units a lot, and then the phalanx pikemen will be the very first decent unit actually you will have. These two guys are crappy. So 2 morale on militia hoplite and 2 morale on levy pikemen. This guy has a 4 morale, but even 4 itself is like, I think the Hastadi is a 4 or 6 as well. So they are very low on morale. That's kind of annoying part about the Seleucid foot troops. And that's what you will be having access in the very early in the game, and +2 morale is like a can be a lifesaver for you in a lot of situation, in a lot of battles. So I definitely love to see this trait over here. I would say one of the probably the best thing we've so far talked about in this episode. And you have unfortunately only just 5% of chance at the end of each turn for being able to get this trait over here. And last trait we were talking about is the immoral. In the game files it goes as a perverted 1, again 5%, and again -1 influence. Exact same thing like it. It is bad to have it. I mean, if you have it, there's nothing else to do. You can't get rid of it, I believe. Just try to keep your influence up with from other sources. But yeah, this is kind of unlucky trait to have. It's a debuff, definitely. And now we'll talk about the followers. So we talked about the cook already. The next on the line is a comedian, +1 morale. Again, morale is great. +1 is good to have. Another thing I want to add, this thing is not movable, but you can move the comedian. So if you got a comedian, and if you got a comedian in your governor, then you are limiting the use of the buff. You can move this follower to your generals, which is fighting in the fronts, and they will definitely get benefit from it much more. The governors might only be benefited from it if they are having a siege defense battle, or if, let's say, I see enemy army coming towards to my settlement. Before letting them siege me, I go sally out or whatever, then that's useful. But mostly you won't be fighting with your governor family members a lot, and I would move this follower to someone who is usually been in the front. And how many percent of chance we have to get a comedian? It is 8, exact same conditions as we talked before. And here we go, we have drinking companion here, +1 influence, -1 command. Overall, I do find out drinking companion itself is for me is a buff, definitely a buff. Command, I say this is S tier for me. Command is maybe a B or C tier, I don't care. Even it is +1 influence and -3 command, I will still consider this as a good bonus. So it doesn't basically make me feel like it takes my command away, but definitely +1 influence is good to have. But this guy works a little different than the other traits and followers we've talked about. So it has a 7% of chance at the end of each turn and for your family member to be able to get it, but you can't get it if you don't have a drink 2 trait. So we have a social drinker trait already, which is drink 1, but you have to have at least drink 2 or higher. So let's upgrade this drink 2 trait on this guy and see what is drink 2. So drink 1 gives us +1 command, but drink 2 is a negative trait, is a debuff. It goes like from social drinker to a likes a drink in the second tier, and -1 management takes your command point away if you were using it in any point, gives you -1 management. I mean, it is bad to have management. I would never exchange my I wouldn't even exchange my 5 command points, 3 command points to a management point. So always would like to have a management. And I mean, overall this guy is good, but I wouldn't work so hard for it to get, because you're losing a lot just for getting that. If you will think about what you're losing is you're losing like a management point, command +1 command point from the first tier, and so -2 command, -1 management, but you're getting +1 influence. I mean, it is something I would say influence for me is more important than the management, but unfortunately you have only 7% of chance to be able to get this guy. So if you won't get it until that point, you're completely in the negative. And once you get it, then you can consider it as a maybe some kind of gain, but I wouldn't sweat for it. So and the priest for our temple over here, priest of Dionysus, again 15% of chance, exact same way as the all other all other priestes in every factions, not only in the Seleucids. All the priestes are 15% of chance and the exact same conditions. Let's take a look at this guy. I mean, when I see the priest of Dionysus in Thracians, I got so happy with the priests. I consider it so far one of the best priests I have seen, maybe the best actually. Look at that, +2 influence and +1 management. That is just huge. That's just great. I mean, what else you can ask? So +2 influence is the, for me, the what I consider is a top tier buffs you're getting over here, and you're getting like +3. You're seeing a lot of priests gives you +1 management, +1 command, +1 influence, +1 command, but like 3 useful points is huge. Probably one of the best, definitely, priestess in the game. You can get it with Temple of Dionysus. Thracians have that too. So if you play in Thracians, I say it is better if you build a Dionysus in a lot of places, in a lot of settlements, and we'll talk about that in Seleucids too. Let's jump to the third tier building. 30% public order bonus due to happiness. We went from 20 to 30. In the fourth tier, we went 30 to 40. I mean, so far we're just moving great. 30% like public order bonus is just huge. Let's look at the Pantheon in the Hephaestus. 25% from happiness, 10% from low, 35 altogether, but you're getting 40% in the fourth tier. Now let's take a look to the Pantheon. 50% over here, which is a huge bonus, plus 10% from the low, all together 60%. It is great. Let's look at that. +1 like population grow bonus. So if you know, I don't like to see a population grow bonus in the Pantheon level. Why? Because what does it mean? It means you have to be a huge city. You have to reach 24,000 population cap for being able to, first of all, build a royal palace and then building this Pantheon. Then why the hell I need extra population bonus after 24,000? I would be interested to decrease my population somehow without losing my settlement and exterminating again. I would like to lose my population for dealing with less population issues, with less public order, because I only need the population for being able to build the high-end buildings, right? I mean, I don't need any more, so that doesn't make a sense, but still it gives this line a very strong religious building option for Seleucids. So 60% public order is just huge, and I would take it any day. And let's jump to our last temple as a Seleucid, which is Asclepios. So Asclepios is a temple of healing, and if you've played with Brutias or if you've watched my Brutii temple videos, Brutii Roman also had a temple of healing. Their goddess name was Juno, and we will be seeing familiar similar traits and followers. We'll talk about maybe same bonuses and stuff. Let's take a look. So public order bonus due to happiness 5%. Public order bonus in general 5%, so it means 10% public order bonus, exact same at the end with the Dionysus. But look at that, in the first tier you're getting 0.5% public population grow bonus due to health. So now you saw like how mouthful I talked about Dionysus temple, but now in the first tier the Asclepios beats the Dionysus. Actually, you're getting exact 10% of bonus, but plus population grow bonus. And you know, I talked about population grow you don't need in this tier, but you definitely need population grow bonus as early tiers, because especially in some settlements, in, for example, this guy has already decent amount of population, same as them, but in some settlements you are even those guys, let's say you went and conquered Ankara. Ankara starts as a town as well. Maybe he's gonna have like 600, 700 population. It is pain in the butt to increase the population in those settlements, and you definitely need the bonus like this for being able to go to a large town, city, and upper, for just being expanding the settlement. You need that bonus. So it is a very solid first tier. So from the first tier religious buildings, I would say that is the best. Maybe Dionysus is the second, and Hephaestus is the first, the last. So very, very, very nice. The starting point for our the Asclepius branch. Now let's take a look to the follower or trait. Only one trait over here. Again, another devotion to healing, since Asclepius is a healing temple. +1 finance for amber, +1 finance for incense, -1 for the lead. You figure out the rest how you would optimize these bonuses, but that's all as a first tier. And again, as the other devotions, 100% of chance for your merchant to be able to get it. Now the second tier, we have 20% public order bonus altogether, and population growth goes up to 1% from 0.5. Again, very solid second tier building. I feel like it is a one step ahead of the Dionysus over here again as a second tier. So public order 20% is great, population growth is great. So in those stages, like in the first, like in the town, large town, minor city, even in the large city, you might be in some point interested to keeping your populational grow like as high as possible. So but definitely these three tiers, you definitely want to focus on population grow a lot. You have to build the farms, you have to decrease the taxes if you want. So these three tiers, population growth bonus is important. When you're getting to the higher end, it loses its importance. And let's now talk about the followers and the traits. So there's actually two traits you can get from this temple, but you see only one in here because they are anti-traits for each other. It means if you have one, you're not gonna be able to have the another one. So I put the positive, like a buff over here for Demetrius in the pink. In the game files, it gets under Hail and Hearty 1. You have 10% of chance at the end of each turn. What it gives to us, +2 your general hit points. I mean, that's great bonus again. It is actually, if I have to list it, it is A tier for me. At least A tier, might be between A and S, but it's a A tier buff to have. Why? Because I said a lot of fights is turned in my favor because of using a general cavalry, and there's a lot of situations, especially I always play in the very hard difficulty, very hard difficulty. In a lot of situations, in a lot of stupid situations, let me put it that way, I'm losing my general somehow. So this trait lets me play with my general cavalry more bluntly, like with less care. So it gives me more basically mistake room. If I forget to move it on the time, if somehow unluckily my general put himself in a bad position, he has more chance to survive now. And I would consider it as a very great buff to have. And let's take a look to the anti-buff, and anti-buff is over here. It goes hypochondriac 1, again 10%, -1 command when attacking. I don't care about command minus, but -2 from your general hit points. That's sad and feeling poorly. I mean, so what it means is if you have a general or family member, it either gonna get in the pink or the feeling poorly. So it really depends on your luck, and I wish you all being able to get this guy, because that's gonna be very useful for you. And now let's talk about the basically uh, follow the followers. So the only follower we're gonna be talking about as early as the second tier over here is the priest. So we don't have any other follower except the priest over here. Again, 15% of chance for being able to get this priest of Asclepius. What it gives to us increases the having chance of having children, +1 public health, improves the chances of casualties recovering from their wounds. So overall is a good buffs, good bonuses. It might doesn't look like to you a lot. It might look like for you the just a junk of word, but increases the having of children is good. Why is good? Because first of all, I'm kinda. I mean, it might not make a sense for most of you all. Let's say you're playing slowly. You win a battles. You have the man of the hours. You have adoptions and stuff. I do accept those adoptions, but I always feel like, and I always do my best for continuing the basically rulership from my original bloodline. And what does it mean? Let's say if later on I adopt some generals and add them to my family, or make my basically the daughters or granddaughters marry with someone else. uh, I do always like to I don't like to make them a faction leader or heirs. I do usually like to keep my original bloodline and move from there. It is just something like I would say like a role playing thing. So it is not very actually make a sense on the number wise, but it is, as I said, the role play thing. So it is great to have this kind of thing. I can move it between to my family members. So I can move to it my original bloodline, let's say family member. Let's say Demetrius is one of them. So he can have more children, and it means I can get more offsprings from the pure bloodline rather than having the others. Also, if you don't care about the roleplay side, having more children means having more generals. Having more generals means having more general cavalry units. So it is win-win in any situation. So it is a great thing to have. Public health. Public health directly affects to your public order plus your population growth. The more the public health are, the better public order you're gonna have, the better population growth you're gonna have. So again, is a very good thing to have, and improves the chances of casualties recovering from their wounds. What does it mean? So there's a um, there's a number in the game. I think it's between 10 to 20%. Let's say you getting into the battle, you deploy 1,000 men, and you losing. Let's say you lost 100 men in the battle, right? So you finishing the battle with 900 living men. At the end of each battle, the first between 10 to 20%, let's call it 15, I'm not so sure. The first 15% of your casualties, which we had 100 casualties, the first 15% who died on the battle will be recovered at the end of the battle. So this buff gets that 15%, improves that chance. So if it was 15, it doesn't say over here how much it increases, but it increases maybe to 20, maybe to 25. So it is great to have actually. Why? Maybe it's not gonna be very useful at the early in the game, but let's say you moved on, and let's see when you can get these elephants. Let's say you build a cavalry stables and you have elephants. How many units in the elephant? There's 30 men in the elephant, right? So let's say you build only one elephant and you don't have any general or something, and you give like 3-4 militia hoplites or levy pikemen, and you made a small army and you went to siege one settlement, right? So what you can do, you can go ahead without waiting a turn, because as you know, elephants can break the doors and wooden doors and walls. You don't have to wait for a turn for building a siege equipment. You can just get into the settlement as soon as you lay the siege on them. And what I usually do, I go ahead and play with my only with my elephant first. So 30 elephants, right? I order them to go and attack to their general or very strong units, but not to the pikemen. If they have a pikemen, if they have a phalanx units, not to them. But let's say I play against the Romans, I play against whoever else. I go and charge to the enemy like a very high quality units with my elephants, because elephants are strong enough too. And I'm just sacrificing my elephants there, right? Let's say 30 of them, and they killed 25 of them. The 5 of them were routing and went back. So it means I have 25 losses. And then now I do 1 or 2 units of sacrifice from the militia hoplites. So at the end of the battle, I can recover those guys. And let's say if I have a 25 loss, let's say you have to at least, if we will take the less percentage, let's say 10% recovers at the end of the battle without having this bonus. So I'm gonna basically let's see how many units in one unit. 200 men in one militia hoplite. So at least I'm gonna sacrifice one unit and maybe a little bit from the other one, and then I'll go finish the race. And then at the end of the battle, all of my elephants will be basically recovered from their wounds. All the casualties will be recovered. And why I do that? Because it is difficult to have a settlement with the second tier cavalry stables. I don't want to, after every 1 or 2 battle, let's say I fight couple battles, then move my elephants back, retrain and bring them back. I can retrain the militia hoplites pretty much anywhere. It only requires the first tier barracks buildings, and pretty much every settlement will have it. And if they then have it, the second settlement for sure will have it, but not every settlement has a cavalry stable, so that makes sense. At least for me it does make sense. I hope you were able to get my point, and I hope I was able to explain myself clear enough. But yeah, that casualty recover chance goes up, and it means you can sacrifice less, or if you don't do that on purpose, you're gonna have just more casualties recovered at the end of the battle, which is plus for you. So that's all pretty much for now for the second tier. Now let's jump to the third tier of Asclepios building, large temple. We have 30% bonus on public order, and again another one step ahead from the Dionysus, plus 1.5% population growth bonus, and again another probably the strongest branch so far we've seen. And let's look at the fourth tier, awesome temple. 20% makes it 40% public order altogether, 2% population growth bonus. I mean, that's where still 2% population growth bonus is acceptable in the fourth tier, but I don't want my population growth bonus to get up anymore in the Pantheon, because that's not useful already. But overall, again, I would consider probably one step ahead of Dionysus again. And we have another follower over here we will talking about. That will be the last thing we will be talking about, which is Nikander or Nisander. I don't know how it's pronounced. So you can see the description and stuff. What it gives is to us: increase the heaven of children, +2 public health. Again, improves the chances of casualties. Exact same thing at the priest, but extra bonuses. This has +2 public health rather than +1. So again, strong follower to have, very good follower to have, especially both together. That might be a very strong, basically, composition together. You can have one family member or family faction heir, leader, whatever, can have a lot of kids, can be having a lot of casualty recovers. But this Nisander is a very interesting thing to have. So it is the historical figure. There's some historical figures you're gonna see as a followers. They don't work exact same way like the other traits and followers. How they work, you still have to build the awesome temple of Asclepius or above, which is leaves us with the Pantheon only. So you have to have at least a 4th or 5th tier temple of Asclepius, right? And you have 80% of chance for your family member to get this guy if he is ending the turn in a settlement that this building already built. But there's another condition over here. You can't get this follower if you're not, if your game, if your campaign is not between turns 200 to 300. So let's say I'm at the, you can check your turn over here, turn 2. So you have to be at least turn 200 and at most 300. So in that range, if your general sitting in a settlement with the Asclepius temple build or Pantheon of Asclepius build, he's gonna have 80% of chance at the end of each turn to be able to get this guy. If I'm not mistaken, the historical figures can be obtained only once. So it's not like I can move this priest to someone else and with 15% of chance I can still keep pumping them. I won't be able to get them every turn, maybe every 4, 5, 6 turns. I'll still be able to reproduce them. But I don't think so you can do with Nikander. So just keep that in mind. If you already got one, don't try too hard. Probably you're not going to be able to get it. But if you do, then that's something that I didn't know. Just let me know, correct me in the comments too, so I can get that information from you folks. Now let's talk about the Pantheon. So as we already see 25, 25, so 50%. Yes, we're getting 0.5% public population grow bonus. I'm not gonna even look at them. I don't consider this as a bonus. I mean, you can take the whole thing out of Pantheon. I still wouldn't be care in that level. Just give me 5 or 10% more public order bonus. So what else we getting? Trade income bonus 20%. And experience bonus to troops trained here +2. Trade income bonus sounds something exciting. I mean, me personally, I am never having a financial issues in any of my campaigns, in any faction, if I have already reached to this stage. So 20% trade income bonus, let's say you have how much? Like 2,000 income in one settlement. Getting extra 400, yes, it might sound you a lot in the early, but not in that stage. I mean, you always gonna have more than like 100,000 denaries, at least more than 50,000 denaries on your treasury if you've played right. So I don't think trade income bonus is something super important, but it's not like a population growth bonus neither. It is much better use. You have much better use of this than that. And experience bonus is great. +2 experience, it is great. So it means it's late in the game. Everybody already, your opponents already getting high-end units too. Let's say if you're playing as a Seleucids, probably you've already expanded this area and stuff. Most probably you will be fighting against Romans, maybe another Greek factions, or maybe barbarians, whoever you fight with, especially against Romans. If they have a Marian reforms, they're pumping very strong units, very strong legionaries, and have an extra 2 experience bonus is great. So overall I would say the Asclepius basically branch is very strong, very, I would say, decent line to go. So there's 2 followers that I missed to talk about once we were at the Temple of Fun. It was the traits, it was the followers for our spy, or might be an assassin. I just didn't hire an assassin. Exact same things works on assassin too, which is courtesan and dancer. So both of these has 15% of chance at the end of each turn. Exact same conditions. Your spy or assassin should sit on a settlement where you have to have the 2nd tier of Dionysus building built, or above of course, but you have to have at least 2nd tier, and you have 15% of chance to trigger one of those, and you can get both of them at the same time. So this just gives us plus to our agent skill. I mean, for the spy agent skill, not something super useful. Yes, it is useful. It gives you better chance of infiltrating to the settlements or the armies. But for assassin, that might be more useful because, again, grinding the assassin, getting them in a good level is kind of difficult. So these guys might be helping you in that way. So overall, that was all, folks. That's all we talked about the bonuses and stuff. So if I'm gonna have to put it in a certain way, that which temple is the best, so unfortunately there is nothing such a best. So what what we can consider as like a very advantageous for us is how you play with them. So I wouldn't build, to be honest, the Hephaestus temple in all of my settlements. I wouldn't build the others on all of my settlements neither. As you already see, like I mean, I feel like the first 4 tiers, Asclepius is the best. I mean, it beats the other two, but I feel like the Pantheon level is Dionysus is better on the Pantheon level than the Asclepius because of its having 60% public order bonus, but also this guy having +2 experience. So I feel like if I'm gonna have to go with one line, maybe Asclepius is the way to go because of its high basically public order, its high population growth, and also at the last tier and the bonus that it gives to us from the experience. So it is good. But I mean, I would keep building one or two maybe Hephaestus temple in a settlements that where I will be recruiting my armies. So how I do, I don't build military buildings on all my settlements. Let's say I've got the whole Anatolia, I defeated the Egypt and stuff. Let's say I'm gonna for example, I'm gonna get the Pergamum, let's say, and I'm gonna be only building, not in the Pergamum probably, it's a good trading city, but let's say I got one of Ankara, for example. It's a very small town, but Damascus, I'm gonna be maybe building only military here, but economical anywhere else. So I'm usually making one or two settlements, one settlement usually in each front, for my like military strongholds, the places where I build the military buildings and where I recruit, where I retrain, and it's been like a kind of headquarters for my military operations in that basically in that front. So in that settlement, I might build a Hephaestus temple because this doesn't give me a lot of public order bonus, which I can cover it with the units, the garrison units that I get it from there. But everywhere else, I usually like leave a unit of peasant. Like in this kind of settlements, I don't want to deal with the public order because the garrison costs money and I don't want to pay money for it. So having a public order bonus, maybe building Asclepius all over is better. Also, the traits and followers from Asclepius is good. Dionysus traits are good too, especially the morale bonuses, and this priest is huge. So I would say if you're gonna build something, go with Dionysius or the Asclepius and leave the Hephaestus only in 1, 2, 3 settlements. So overall, actually, Seleucids has a pretty decent religious building options. We don't see that a lot with other factions. Most of the time, you say, okay, like this line is the best to go. For example, with the Thracians, Dionysius was the best to go. Even they had two options. So yeah, I mean, that's all about the Seleucids. I hope in some point it was any kind of help for you. I hope you could have benefited from it in some extent. If you did, if you enjoyed, if you liked the content, please do like and subscribe. I do appreciate all your support. And folks, next week, as I already said, we will be continuing either Egypt's or the Eastern culture factions, one of them, and I'll decide it later on the week. And tomorrow we continue our Greek city campaign videos. If you haven't checked the Greek city campaign videos, do take a look. We are already conquered a lot of lands over the world. Pretty much, we are finishing our world domination, which is the I'm doing it for the first time too. Is a challenge for me too. Take a look to that. We have a great battles and we have a pretty decent content over too. So overall, folks, thanks for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will be seeing you in the next episodes and next videos. Take care since then.